fuel that is coming out of the injectors, if it's gummed up or has blockage, it comes out in sporadic manners, and that can actually knock pistons off of their rhythm or any other and other problems. It can actually ruin the injectors. With XFT, it cleans out the injectors and allows a better distribution of the fuel, and therefore a better combustion process to happen within the chamber. And I want one comment about the detergents. When you buy fuel, you are buying detergents, okay? I want to be clear about this. When people ask, when you see Shell with V-Power or Chevron with Techron or other things like that, the main thing that you are buying is detergents to deal with inefficiencies and particulate matter within that fuel. The detergents, you're paying extra for those. Lubricants. This is especially a problem in ultra-low sulfur diesel, which has become worse and worse since 2007 and 2010, when they introduced ultra-low sulfur diesel laws into effect. This is mainly for companies. Lubricants also deal with another issue that is of major importance to us, and that's ethanol. Ethanol is an additive, and it is alcohol-based, and it strips away the lubricants that would be in your fuel and in your system, and if your fuel doesn't have lubricants in it, then you can actually corrode your system over time and on the way through. Everything from your engine to your tailpipe. Alcohols strip away the lubricants and strip away the sort of things that allow your engine to run efficiently. Pistons can get knocked off rhythm, and actually you can have rust. Prevents corrosion. Anytime you have a metal in a liquid, you are going to have corrosion over time, and it can happen within a matter of days, weeks, or more. We've had many examples, even in old vehicles, of oxidation, which is rust, occurring in the fuel systems, and it can actually eat through. It is literally the materials that make up your engine or other parts. They become oxidized rust. Fuel stabilizer. Fuel, over time, breaks down into its constituent parts, which are hydrogen and carbon, and it'll actually separate in your tank, basically into the layers that make it up. When you have especially a situation where you're storing fuel, like winter vehicles during the summer, or summer vehicles during the winter, or whatever, that fuel is separating, and multiple things can happen during that process. One is they simply won't start up the way that they're supposed to. It allows the corrosive materials to do more damage than they normally would. And thirdly, there's actually these things that a lot of people think are algae, but it's actually microbes that grow and feed on the fuel. You have this a lot in ships, you have this a lot in weed whackers, in generators are the biggest culprit. We've had companies in this area that I've talked to who had big generators, and they actually had not only the gumming up process, but the microbes grow to the point that their generators did not work when they wanted them to. So they had to pump it out, filter it, put the fuel back in, and all of that costs money. Fuel stabilizers prevent the fuel from separating into its constituent parts. Demulsifier. Separates water from fuel, and I think we actually have an example it's back there. It pushes it to the bottom of the tank. Why is this important? Water can and will cause damage, including even a pinhead worth of water can ruin an injector. It can also plug filters. Now, most products, what they do is they encapsulate the water and they actually force it through the injectors. And even that process in and of itself can cause damage. XFT pushes and permanently keeps the water on the bottom of the tank. Fuel is drawn from the top of the tank. Now, you will never accumulate enough water in the history of your vehicle that it will get drawn from the tank and cause the kind of damage that it would if it was still part and parcel to the fuel. And water is going in your fuel if, you see those tankers at gas stations, for example. Sometimes they're filling those ground tanks at the gas stations while it's raining. They open up these little hatches and they stick down the hose, and the fuel goes in there. The water does get in there, and somebody's got to get it. Polymerization retardant. Polymerization is the formation of sludge and other particulate matter into a hard mass. This is very prevalent in a number of things, including home heating furnaces, many open flame applications such as power plants, generators, stuff like that. A carbon residue, because fuel is made out of part carbon, it gathers in and of itself, and it lines the walls of the tank, and it also lines the fuel system and other parts, and can cause damage on the way through. XFT not only prevents the polymerization, prevents sludge buildup, it also, permanently, it actually takes and breaks down that polymerized carbon and essentially makes it so small and encapsulates it into a safe mode so that it can go out of your engine. And I'm going to talk about the effect of this in a second. Environmental benefits, I'm going to skip this because we got limited time, but basically it reduces emissions significantly. The greatest way to know this is to look at your tailpipe. Diesels are famous for this. Italy was started by a guy named Gianfranco De Gusto, and he was known for his diesel truck that spewed black smoke. Well, when he used XFT, it became white and clear, basically heat waves, and people said, "Gianfranco, what did you do?" He said, "Well, I'm using this stuff called XFT, and it took away my emissions." And now they are the greatest commercial power in the world with XFT because one guy saw such significant results in his emissions. And this is going to be a major issue. I tell you 100%. Right now, I was reading some documents the other day. We are at a breaking point where companies either have a choice, they can deal with their carbon emissions right now, or they're going to pay dearly for it later. And a lot of companies, any big company that you know, they have to buy carbon shares. They're only allowed to produce so much emissions, especially power plants and things like that. They buy those, and sometimes they buy them from other companies that use less emissions so that they can produce more. It is going to cost more and more and more and more for them to be able to pollute the atmosphere. This is just one example of a plant where you can see that it went from smoke to no smoke. This is on a train stack. Some railroad people actually told us that if we could help them eliminate forest fires caused by the embers leaving the exhaust stacks, that we would save them millions, if not billions of dollars of damage that they do. If any of you have ever been out west, forest fires and other canyon fires and stuff can start in a lickety-split and can do tons of damage at an extreme cost. You can see before and after, before on the left on, right after. Won the Ecovisionary Award 2011. No alcohol in XFT, EPA registered. You can lose lower octane gas with no pings. Octane is a measure of fuel's resistance to auto detonation. And cetane is related to that. When you add heat or pressure or the spark from a spark plug, depending on the temperature, it will cause fuel to detonate at the wrong time in some cases. Pinging is caused by knocking the pistons and other machinations of the engine out of sync with each other so that they're not working properly. If you allow the fuel to not auto detonate because of extreme heat and pressure, you will prevent the pinging. XFT doesn't change the octane rating, but it does give greater resistance to auto detonation. No warranty issues, covered by law on all fronts. more horsepower. Engine's working more properly and more efficiently, and therefore you get more power. Anti-gel agents. Anti-gel agents. XFT will only affect the temperature at which diesel fuel will gel by about 4 to 7 degrees. We have another product called Freeze Point that will affect the temperature that diesel fuel gels at by about 20 degrees. If you are interested in that, we can talk about it. Winter blend fuels. In areas like this, it gets extremely cold and people always use anti-gel agents. Winter blend fuels, as I talked about, you are going to lose miles per gallon in the winter. Right now, already they have transitioned to winter fuels. Often that means the removal of the additives that they would normally put in the summer. By not putting in the additives, the fuel is also a little bit cheaper, but you lose the cleaning agents that are keeping your engine working properly. Give you that spiel. I want to tell you something about this. I believe that this is probably the most significant document that you could give to your customers, period. If you are not giving this to your customers, you are dooming yourself to failure. I want to tell you, I've known for over 2 years intellectually that this was the right graph, that I took for granted that it was true. I said, these are 4 patterns. There must be some other ones that exist outside of it though. But I can tell you, I just did a test for several months with a major company, okay? 9 vehicles over many thousands of miles and gallons. And all 9 vehicles fit this graph to a T. 4 of them saw between a 25 and 34% increase. They went up immediately, which is the blue line. Okay? 3 of them did the red line, which is the fuel economy. Because of the organometallic compound, it immediately and always affected the fuel. It gave them better fuel economy. All of a sudden, though, all the other things came into play. It ejected some of the carbon residue and other stuff that was bringing down their engine efficiency and therefore their fuel economy. It ejected that stuff. It sent it through safely, caused the fuel economy to plummet, probably down to where it was before or even below. And then once it was free of the system and preventing any further carbon residue from building, it skyrocketed back up. Third option, green one. That you could have your engine, and it will take a while for XFT to allow that freeing of your engine and allow you to experience the better fuel economy. It could be several tanks, in fact, for you to realize the fuel economy. That doesn't mean that XFT isn't working. It is always working. It is always affecting the fuel in the way that I described. But it takes a few for the other things to take effect and allow your engine to experience better fuel economy. And I want to make one last note on this one. A lot of new vehicles, including a lot of the Audis people are buying, they have extremely sophisticated computer systems. Factory settings can prevent you from getting better fuel economy. They are rated at a certain amount. And the system, and in some cases with the advanced trucks that companies are now buying, they have a governor that prevents your computer system from updating and allowing your engine to work more efficiently. So what happens is people use it and it's working, except the car is essentially working against itself. Okay, this happens with Hondas and Lexuses and many others. So what you need to do, if you ever have a customer who says this, what you need to do is say, unplug your battery for 15 minutes. Let it set. Plug it back in and it'll reset your computer system to take away the governing that prevents you from getting better fuel economy. And finally, sort of like the red one, the yellow one, it is immediately ejecting the